Coming up today, looking to rebuild damaged ties and cooperate on pending economy-related bills. President Park Geun-hye will meet with the leaders of Korea's ruling party today. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe pushes legislation to expand the role of the military through a key panel, despite surging public and parliamentary opposition. Plus, a US defense agency suggests Congress approve the sale of KF-16 fighter jet parts and equipment to South Korea for an estimated $2.5 billion. Stay tuned for these stories and more.
Hello and welcome to our 6 a.m. newscast on Thursday, July 16th. You're watching Arirang News. I'm Mark Broome. Our top story this morning, President Park Geun-hye will welcome a new-look ruling party leadership to the presidential office today as both sides look to move forward after their spat over disputed revisions to the National Assembly law. Choi You-sun starts us off.
President Park Geun-hye is expected to emphasize the need to have a strong cooperative relationship between the presidential office and the ruling Saenuri party when she meets the party leadership at her office on Thursday. The relationship soured over the president's veto of revisions to the National Assembly law and the resignation of former party floor leader Yoo Seung-min. Emphasis on renewing top office party relations comes as President Park needs to move forward in her drive for economic revival nearing the midpoint of her term in office. And this was reflected when President Park asked her newly appointed political secretary to work on improving ties with the party and the National Assembly for the sake of the public's interest. The president is expected to urge the ruling party to work with the opposition to promptly pass the post-MERS supplementary budget bill through parliament, as well as other long-awaited bills concerning the people's livelihoods. The party, which elected a new floor leader this week, will likely pledge its support.
We should ensure the supplementary budget is promptly approved at the right time to help the nation's economy overcome the fallout from the MERS outbreak and the recent drought.
The party is also pushing to immediately normalize consultative channels with the presidential office and even having the president and party leader Kim Moo-sung meet on a regular basis. Also on Thursday, the party plans to ask the president to include businessmen and politicians when she grants pardons around the time of Korea's Liberation Day next month.
Amnesty is a very timely decision for national unity and economic recovery.
President Park, whose campaign pledge included a limited exercise of amnesty, especially for those serving corruption sentences, said pardons would be necessary for national development and unity. In display of her faith in the party, President Park is also expected to have a one-on-one meeting with party leader Kim Moo-sung separately. Choi You-sun, Arirang News.
Now, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's push to expand the scope and role of the country's military has taken yet another step closer to becoming reality, despite growing public and parliamentary opposition. A set of bills which would enable Japan to come to the military aid of an ally under attack was approved by a special parliamentary committee on Wednesday. The approval comes against the backdrop, as you can see there, of strong objections from opposition lawmakers and also citizens who organised mass protests in many parts of the country. In Tokyo alone, a record 60,000 protesters, estimated by organisers, rallied outside of the parliament, calling the legislation unconstitutional. The bills are expected to be approved this week, however, by the Japanese parliament in an initial vote scheduled for today, Thursday. A major Japanese corporation is said to offer a landmark apology for forcing American prisoners of war into labour during World War II. Citing a press release from an organisation called the Simon Wiesenthal Centre, which primarily educates the public about the Holocaust, the Associated Press says a senior executive executive officer of Mitsubishi Materials will, this weekend, apologize to one of the victims and their relatives in California. The report, however, also says that when reached for comment, the Japanese firm claimed not to have any information about this. If it does happen, though, it will likely fuel already negative public sentiment in Korea, as countless numbers of Koreans were forced to work at mines and plants at that time and have not received such an apology. The Japanese government is showing signs once again of attempting to downplay its wartime atrocities and the use of forced laborers from Korea during its colonial rule of the country. According to the Japanese daily Asahi Shimbun, the Foreign Ministry's Director General for Cultural Affairs, Jun Shin-mi, on Wednesday briefed some ruling party lawmakers on this very matter. He told them about the follow-up measures the ministry will take to honour the victims who died at some of the wartime industrial sites that were added to UNESCO's World Cultural Heritage List earlier this month. He said the ministry plans to include everyone who suffered in the coal mines or factories, regardless of their nationality. Now, the newspaper interpreted the statement as meaning the scope of the victims may include not only Koreans, but also Japanese. And this obviously raises concerns from Korea that the issue of Korean forced labour may not be clearly introduced in the historical background for these facilities. A US defense agency has given the green light to the possible sale of parts, equipment and logistical support that will enable South Korea to upgrade its aging fleet of KF-16 fighter jets. The US Defense Security Cooperation Agency says the deal, if approved by Congress, would cost Seoul around $2.5 billion. The sale would allow South Korea to upgrade 134 KF-16s. The principal contractors will be Lockheed Martin, the F-16's manufacturer, and Northrop Grumman. The US agency says the upgrade will allow South Korea to provide a powerful defensive and offensive capability to preserve security and stability on the Korean peninsula. And South Korea and the US have come up with a comprehensive set of measures to prevent another accidental shipment of live anthrax arriving in Korea. This deal was struck on Wednesday during their biannual meeting on implementing the bilateral status of forces agreement. The meeting was held in Seoul. Now, in late April, live anthrax samples were mistakenly shipped from a US lab to the Ulsan air base south of the Korean capital. Now, there were other issues on the table as well, namely the accident at a US Army shooting range in Gyeonggi-do province back in March that injured a local resident, and the legal status of the roughly 28,000 American troops stationed here in South Korea. Some recently leaked data shows South Korea's intelligence service may have asked a foreign hacking group in 2013 to hack into a computer owned by a lawyer. The data that was posted on the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks shows a series of emails between the client, dubbed the 5163 Army Unit, and Italian surveillance malware vendor hacking team. Now, it's widely believed the 5163 Army Unit is a code name used by agents from South Korea's National Intelligence Service. Now, from the emails, it isn't really clear who the identity of the target is or, in fact, their nationality. The spy agency admits to buying a hacking program from an Italian company, but has denied flatly using it to monitor any South Korean citizens. It says it was meant to strengthen the country's cyber warfare capabilities against North Korea. Now, to maintain their lead in the increasingly competitive global market, more Korean shipbuilders are fitting their vessels with so-called smart functions. And what's more, Korea has launched a new innovation center in the nation's shipbuilding capital, which is Ulsan, and that's a city just north of Busan. Our Song Ji-sun reports.
The new center is aimed at revamping production lines to create ships that are both smart and eco-friendly. The technology for both can now be loaded onto vessels weighing several hundred tons. Korea is seeking to expand innovations like these and turn them into growth engines for the economy, while cementing its position in the global shipbuilding industry.
스마트 선박도 2020년까지 시장 규모가 530억 달러로 확대될 예정인 것으로 알고 있습니다. 스마트 선박은 스마트폰과 마찬가지로 다양한 아이디어를 기반으로 한 소프트웨어 개발이 핵심입니다. 울산 센터에서는 현대 중공업이 세계 최초로 개발한 스마트 선박 프로그램 개발 지원 시스템을 전면 개방해서 누구나 자유롭고 쉽게 소프트웨어를 개발할 수 있는 환경을 제공하게 될 것입니다.
Korea built the world's first smart ship in 2011 and has since landed contracts for more than 200 smart ships. The first generation of smart ships could perform simple functions like navigation, monitoring, and control. But the next generation of ships will include the technology for automated shipping, which is already in demand among ship operators because of the potential for reducing operating costs and saving fuel. Korea's three major shipbuilders, Samsung Heavy Industries, Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, and Hyundai Heavy Industries, the latter of which will be in charge of the new Innovation Center, have a combined 2,500 patents for building smart ships like these and more. In conjunction with the Ulsan Center, they plan to share the patents with local startups and small and mid-sized companies seeking to develop similar software. The center will also help turn shipyards into smart yards and help smaller firms enhance efficiency in their production lines through consultations with the large conglomerates. 송지선, Arirang News.
Now, the shipbuilding and auto industries, two sectors at the heart of driving Korea's economy, have been having quite a rough time of late due to sluggish conditions at home and abroad. But showing solidarity with the sectors, Korea's trade minister visited the nation's biggest shipyard and automobile plant on Wednesday, hoping for better results in the second half of the year. Our Gwon-soa reports from Ulsan.
They are Korea's biggest automaker and the world's largest shipbuilder. Hyundai Motor Company and Hyundai Heavy Industries, both of the headquarters situated in the southeastern city of Ulsan. Along with electronics and steel, they embody Korea's growth engines. But with the negative growth in outbound shipments throughout the first half of the year, there are growing concerns that Korea's key export sectors are somewhat shaky, especially the shipbuilding industry. Korea's Trade Minister Yoon Sang-jik met with executives at the shipyard and encouraged them by emphasizing that Korea is still in the lead in the shipbuilding sector ahead of China and Japan. However, Korea's ship exports plunged more than 19% in June on year. Hyundai Heavy Industries saw a net loss of $1.9 billion in 2014, while it saw a net profit of around $130 million the year before. $2.8 billion of operating losses were posted last year. The picture is not looking promising in the automobile industry either. According to an anonymous source, Hyundai Motor and its affiliate Kia Motors lowered their sales target for this year by around 10%. And seems like this slowing trend will continue for the time being, as forecasts for ship and car exports in the second half of the year is already expected to be gloomy. Despite this, the trade minister said that no efforts should be spared to overcome this situation.
It has never been easy. There have always been difficult times, but we have to overcome them. I came here to encourage you that producing one more car and exporting it always counts.
Yoon asked for more cooperation of the private sectors to work along with the latest export promotion plan unveiled last week, which includes a governmental spending of $100 billion to boost exports in the latter half of the year. Gwon-soa, Arirang News, Ulsan.
Now, the government's efforts to curb smoking seem to be working, as the country's smoking rate has dropped nearly 6 percentage points in recent months. A phone survey conducted by Gallup Korea shows the smoking rate in Korean men had decreased to 35% over the months of May and June. That's from 40.8% reported last year. The survey was conducted on more than 2,500 Korean adults. The results also indicated that around 1 in 7 of those who used to light up have stubbed out the habit over the last 12 months. 2/3 of them said they quit because of the massive $2 a pack tax hike that basically doubled cigarette prices earlier this year. With that, the number of visitors to smoking cessation clinics also jumped to over 400,000 people from May to June, more than double from a year ago. Korea has selected a China-led consortium as its preferred bidder to salvage the Sewolho ferry that sank off Korea's southeastern coast last year, killing more than 300 people. The Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries says it will begin negotiations on specific terms and lifting methods with China's state-run Shanghai Salvage next Monday. The consortium will consist of two firms, Shanghai Salvage and Korea's Ocean CNI, and they've suggested roughly $74 million for the contract. Now, this consortium plans to complete the salvage by next July 2016. After months of intense debate, the Korean government decided to raise the sunken ferry back in April. Well, that's all the news we have for now, but Business Daily is coming up at 8 a.m. Korea time. Thank you as always for tuning in, and we do hope to see you at the same time tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.